Hi, Shirley Oya, Executive and Life Success Coach here. And today I want to talk to you about a typical stress response that we all are prone to having. And, we all have behavioral patterns that are just kind of wired in. And it's, a lot of times they're subconscious patterns. We're not even aware of them. We all have our blind spots. And I did this exercise with a group of ladies just the other night, and it really resonated with them. They said it was very helpful. So I want to invite you to think of a time, it's helpful if it's in the last week or 2 weeks or no more than a month, where someone said something or did something that triggered a response in you that made you feel really stressed, okay? And you likely had a response to it and a typical way that you tend to respond to being triggered, okay? For example, in my case, I tend to respond with getting very militant, especially if, mostly this happens with family, when I get triggered by my husband, for example, which I have a really good example, a recent one of that. And so I will get militant, very controlling, and, all of a sudden it's, we got to do this, we got to do that, and this is how it has to happen, and it's just my way or the highway. And that's the way I show up when I get really, really stressed. And it's usually because I'm feeling like I'm not in control. And that's how I fool myself into thinking that I'm in control. So that's the way that I respond. Somebody else might respond by just shutting down and just completely not saying anything, and they're holding it all in, and their heart rate speeds. So that could be a stress response. My coach and colleague, she told me that she tends to go into turbocharge and moves really quickly and then ends up bumping into things. So she could actually injure herself. And so that's kind of a typical stress response of hers. And usually we have more than one. And it's very, it's part of being human. So what I want to invite you to do is just make a mental note or even write down right this moment a typical way that you respond to getting stressed by something. And it's usually, someone has triggered you or pushed your buttons, or perhaps something has happened at work and you just feel really, really stressed. So what are some of the ways that you react? What are some of the ways that you respond? And just think of one right now, actually, that you think is, if you were really honest with yourself, this is a sort of your MO in the way that you respond. And then, good, so put that aside once you've done that. And we're actually going to do a breathing exercise that can be really helpful to sort of kind of take us out of that stressful head place that we all go to. And it will actually help us incorporate a way to think of a different way to respond. We're not going to think about the incident right now. We're just going to get connected to our breath. Okay, so I'm going to teach you this breathing technique, and it has multiple benefits to it. Anytime that we breathe more accurately, or not necessarily more accurately, but more deeply, it gives us a lot. It helps us with our thinking, and it just calms the whole nervous system down. So just take a deep breath and just notice, fill your abdomen. Feel the breath fill and expand your stomach, and then expand your rib cage, and then feel it expanding your chest. So if we're really doing it well, we're just breathing in this deep, deep breath, and it's not a shallow breath. It's coming deep from our belly. And then the last thing that rises is the chest. And you do that slowly. And then you hold it for 4 seconds, or as long as you're able. And then you let out the breath. Okay. It can be helpful to do it in the count of 7. So 7 seconds in, hold for 4, and then breathe out for about 7 seconds. So the inhale and the exhale are very similar, and then holding it for however long you can, so 4 or 5 seconds. So let's do that again. And when you breathe out, when you exhale, I want you to put your tongue behind the top teeth at the roof of your mouth, like this. So energetically, it's very cleansing breath, and it also can energize and clear your mind, okay? So we're gonna breathe in for a count of 7, we're gonna hold for 4, and breathe out for a count of 7, okay? So I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna count you through this, and you go ahead and do this, and you can change this up any way you like. You don't even have to count necessarily, but just it helps in the beginning. And don't worry about it if you can't do the full 7 seconds in breath, or if you have to breathe out more quickly, it's okay. Okay. So we're going to start by breathing in deeply to the count of 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So you'll do that. It's really helpful to do it at least 3 times. Okay. So we don't have enough time to go through all of the breath work right now, but if you do that in your own time, then I want you to go back to what you wrote down or what you brought into your mind about your stress response. And I want you to make a note of what could you do differently? What might be a response that you can have that will be more effective and at the same time empower you as opposed to have you feeling stressed. Okay. The good news is that we all have available to us the opportunity to change how we respond to things. If we first bring an awareness to it, and then we practice a new way, then over time that new way will become your default mode. Okay? So think about what might be possible for you to do differently. And I'm just going to give you an example from my situation. So when I get really militant, I had a recent experience with my husband where I had a really good point and I thought I was right about how we should go about doing it. Okay, so I got very militant. And then I noticed I actually stopped myself. So this is where I changed how I responded. I stopped myself. And I actually visualized the whole situation. I stepped back so that I was, in my mind, I was stepping out of the situation. And I actually kind of took a helicopter view. So I raised myself up in my mind's eye and looked down at the situation. And then I asked myself, what does this situation need from me right now? Okay. And then I asked, what does my husband need from me right now? And then I actually had an answer. There was a new perspective that became available to me. And the reason it became available to me is because I changed my response. And the pivotal piece that I want to really highlight and underline here is the way that I changed my response was I first took a pause. Okay, I paused, and then I stepped back and I visualized myself rising above the situation, so that I could see it more fully and see the whole situation. So that I wasn't a part of it, I wasn't engaged in it, I wasn't totally wrapped up in the situation. So it gave my brain some time to sort of come back online with a response that was healthier. And it actually was very effective. And my husband responded in a positive way, okay? I don't always do this perfectly. So I like to say, do it imperfectly rather than not at all. So will you try that? And then get in touch with me if you have some big ahas or if you have questions or comments about this exercise. All right, have a great day.